right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite warlock today, and practicing necromancer. Today, I want to kind of talk to you about building firm foundations under you. This will benefit you in the long run due to building the pillars from a very strong base. Okay. Now, what do I mean by a strong base? Think of it like this: if you are going to get into investing, let's say stocks, ETFs type stuff. Okay. The UTFs and all that other fun stuff, alternative currencies, whatever. Then you'd have to start with research. Okay. You'd have to better your financial IQ. It would be like trying to start a business and understanding that you don't have any understanding about how to run a business. Some will tell you you got to spend money to make money, right? Okay, I can see that. Now, how do you gain that knowledge without research? Okay, so you'd have to delve into books, you'd have to go to school for business. Or at least that's what they tell you, modern society, is that you have to go to school. You have to spend money to go through school, and then you owe that school like 54 to 56 grand. It's going to take you the rest of your life to pay off. But if you get that 1%, and you come out with a good paying job, you should have it paid off in a few years. Wow. That's if you're that 1%. So the illusion in that field is that even though you got the degree from business school, you basically are in financial debt from the get go. You go out, you purchase your own home, you get a car, you get further into debt. You start stressing. You got no money. That's because you have no financial IQ, as Robert Kiyosaki would put it, and Rich Dad Poor Dad. So you'd have to better your financial IQ, and you'd have to learn how to make money work for you, not you working for money. You see, right there, you've already established a single pillar. Because you've done the research, you've delved into the aspects of, okay, I got to understand how to make money, how to make it work for me. I've got to research how to start a business from scratch. Okay. I've got to, just whatever type of thing that you're trying to do, you've got to start from the research. And that is the base of a foundation. So instead of creating a foundation for a home, you're creating a foundation for a skyscraper. Okay. In sorcery, we see many people getting into doing videos, and it's more about BSing people. It's more about popularity. Who's got the fancier YouTube channel, or say, for an example, who's got the most subscribers. And now you got this computer program, this algorithm that people are so concerned with. This is not a foundation for people. It's a foundation for the corporation that YouTube belongs to, because the more feuds, the more conflicts, and the more people that jump onto their system, they make the money and they reap what you sow. And Robert Kiyosaki literally pointed out in his book, you're utilizing somebody else's money. Even the banking systems do that. You put 1,500, let's say for an example, you put $1,000 into your account. Your money doesn't stay there. It circulates through every bank worldwide. Why? Because those people that need a business loan, a personalized loan, get to utilize your money. But here's the kicker. Even though your account still says that it's there and you can access it at any time, that money's always around, but it's being used for other things. That's how the system works. But like I said, in sorcery, it's a whole nother thing. There was a post I saw from an elder that said, "Oh my God, has anybody actually, read any books lately?" Wow, that caught my attention. That caught my attention. Okay, and this is why it caught my attention. Because while everybody's trying to live their life and make a life for themselves, nobody's really stopping to remember that education is the foundation of anything that you do. Anything that you do. Self-education is perhaps the most important aspect of building a foundation, building the life that you want. And the reason I found this one saying so hilarious is, number one, the way of the superior man. Number two, I will teach you to be rich. And number three, the satanic warlock. Okay? I've been doing a lot of meditation lately. A lot of meditation. I've been listening to ambience from, say, for an example, the Star Wars Sith stuff, the Sith Lord ambient music, from meditation to just regular rock and roll, country musics, anything I can get my hands on that helps me relax. And I've been doing rituals to not only better myself as a warlock, but as a practicing necromancer as well. I've been running my own business. And now for a few years, it's a small business. One person, mostly. Recently, my apprentice has joined in. So now you got two. That multiplied. One became two. One mind making two become four, and so forth at some point. But here it is. It's still that slow building process. Even though it's been about 5-10 years worth of just doing it this way. But here we see where a lot of people are just getting on. They're throwing books out that don't have a strong foundation. They don't have the building blocks to help new practitioners, or, say, for an example, intermediate practitioners advance. They don't have the historical attributes. A lot of them just taking regurgitated materials. But for me, I'm looking at it and it's going, all these turmoils, all these problems that these big time practitioners are having. You got Melinda, the last frontier medium, for an example, Melinda Lyons. She's put out numerous books, and yet she's bitching that nobody likes her, that everybody's against her. She's a so-called light worker. Could it be because you don't have that understanding of what you're talking about? I mean, I called her out once for just out of an example. I called her out once on one of her videos because it was based off EA Koenig. Okay. Now, she had gotten a hold of the fact that he got kicked off YouTube, he got kicked off Facebook. His books were banned. Most of his books were banned from Amazon, and all this crap, you know. And it was funny because of the fact it was over one article that had a possible link. There was no evidence whatsoever, outside of the fact that this teenage killer had recently, within 2 weeks, been a part of How to Become a Living God's forum, and he was also associated with this American Islamic terrorist group, if you will. Activities like a hostile, what do you call those things? Religious cult, if you will, foundation, where they like to barricade themselves behind a fence and have armed guards. These malicious type stuff. And it's like, this is all you got to go with. This is the BBC News, by the way, that made this connection. Okay. Or at least tried to push that agenda. Well, here we are a couple months down the road, and Melinda Lyons gets a hold of it, and she does a video. Exposed EA Koenig. Wow. Huh. Yeah. She had no backdrop, no evidence, no nothing to support what she was saying. Claiming that he had been rejected by every social media outlet. Really. And I told her, I said, if that's the case, then why is he doing YouTube videos with such and such practitioner? How about this other practitioner over in a different country, by the way? How come he's doing videos on Odyssey, or he's revamped his business? You know what I'm saying? He's revamped it. Okay, but you're sitting here saying he's been kicked off every social media. He can't even publish books and yada, yada, yada. You see, the lack of information is what gets people in hot water. It gets them in hot water. So when you're putting out book after book after book, and it's more about popularity instead of self renewing, as in working on yourself to better yourself in your world, you're going to end up in what is called the witch wars. You're going to end up in things that are basically teenage drama, BS, flat and simple, plain and simple. And then, like I said, you got Bokor Leonard Elmera. He's got a different woman coming into his business every 5 minutes. But that's that culture. That's that culture. It's Haitian Voodoo, and it's that flashy type stuff. It's welcome to being a warlock, right? And there is an acceptable amount of flashiness that comes along with what we do. But when you get to that point where you're walking around with fur coats and gold all over the place, and what are you trying to be, P. Diddy? I mean, come on, seriously. And then he's in a beef every 5 minutes with other Bokors, other practitioners, other, people. And it's like, why don't you just run your business and don't get involved with anyone else? It's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's about you and what you're trying to build. It's what you're trying to create for you and your family. Okay? And then you see people like John Ramirez. Okay? Now, those of you who don't know who John Ramirez is, I actually did a video and got over 4.5K hits, and I don't even know how much hate mail I got on that one. But here it is. I called him out because he was nothing more than a liar. I watched all his videos. I watched every video interview that he was involved in. I even went out and got his book, Out of the Devil's Cauldron. Okay? Anybody who practices Palo Mayombe, anyone who practices Santeria knows that it has nothing to do with devil worship, that it has nothing to do with Satanism. It's a whole nother religion. It's a whole nother faction. But the only time he gets those waterworks going is when he's promoting his books. His stories change every time he does a live video, from the amount of time that he was in the occult to the amount of time he was a Christian, when and where he met his wife, when he got into Santeria. Not Satanism, but Santeria. It's an African Caribbean tradition. Wow. So I called him out, and I got a lot of hate mail on that. But I was also asked to do a video on it. And I'll be doing one on a, what's his name, Dolan, Dylan, or something like that. I can't remember what his name is, but he's supposedly a next satanic high priest. I'm working on that one too. But here it is. When you build a strong pillar, that strong pillar is based off your understanding, your practices. Okay? So when I look at these guys and I see how Leonard Elmera's book, Leonard Elmera's channel got taken down, and he had to create a new one. And supposedly within a couple of months, he's doubled his viewers. Well, you look at everything that he's putting out. You look at how many videos, shorts, videos, and how many posts he does in a run of a day. You're looking at least 15 to 20 posts per day. Okay? And it goes to show you that just with him alone, he's not only using wisdom, he's using knowledge and experience. That's very clear with him. Okay? So even though within the last year or two, I've seen maybe 3-4 women that have just come and gone, supposedly business partners that's come and gone. He's built something from a strong foundation, but he also comes from money, supposedly. I've heard a lot of different rumors about it, but that to me is just that, rumors. Yeah, I don't affiliate with the guy, but I do watch his content. I like his content because as a practitioner of Haitian Voodoo, I can tell you that area of being a self-initiated practitioner, somebody who has been initiated through the spirit with Papa Gedi, who reached out to me personally, I can tell you that a lot of what he's speaking on is fact. His culture is rich within voodoo. Powerful spirits. The sorcery in itself is magnificent. Anybody who's ever witnessed a voodoo ceremony can tell you you can't fake that shit. You cannot fake that shit. But yet you can go into a Christian church. Okay? You can go into a Christian church and all that is organized religion. When I left after becoming a ordained priest, when I came back from Texas, I noticed a lot of BS in the church. And at the time, it was my friend Wade Townley who got me into ministry. I had come in as a practicing Satanist at the time, and he basically gave me some work to do within the church and everything, and at his home. I hung around with him and his family, and this guy taught me more about the Christian, scriptures than anybody previous. He had that way about him, that way of teaching. But when he became, and that was when he was an evangelist. But now that he's a pastor, everything has become so political. It think of it like this witch war, if you will, between Donald Trump and Biden. Okay, or it's one of those things that's just a lot of BS. And then when he got associated with a supposed sister church from Prince Edward Island, that's when it really started going downhill. You went from, say, for an example, 300 plus parishioners down to maybe roughly around 100. And since then, that number has risen and shrunk. Okay. You got maybe 120, 140 people that even show up to his church. Okay. But this is where I'm going with this. Okay. And like I always tell you, I'm not a Christian. I'm a practitioner of the left hand path. I'm a career necromancer. Yes, I'm a warlock. This is who I am. This is what I am. Okay. But here it is. I took my now ex girlfriend, mother of my son, when we were together. She gets into this whole depression thing every so often. And I ended up saying, hey, I know a church that's open. Your church may be closed, but I know a church. So it had been years since I had even stepped foot in a church. And of course, they sit there and go, well, you can't step into a church without permission. You can't do this. You can't do that. Well, guess what? That's a load of horse shit. People tell you that to give you a false persona of what actually can be done. So here we are. I take her in. We have our son. A lot of the sisters, they're fascinated with our child, which is okay. I don't mind it. Women just Google children for some reason. I don't know what it is about that Google Gaga type BS. It's a kid, But as a guy, I don't think we're supposed to notice that, We're not supposed to understand that. that attraction between women and children. But here it is. So they sit there and the sisters will take the kid and kind of walk around with them. That's kind of like their duty in the church and stuff like that, so that the guys can, the adults can sit there and pay attention to what's being preached on the pulpit and the so-called message being brought out by Jesus Christ, through the minister, the so-called gatekeeper, if you will. And so at this time, this this senior brother, this bishop, was there that day during the church service. And here it is. So they're sitting down there in the chairs on the pulpit, on the stage, on the altar. And here it is. So she ends up bringing our son down. He picks our son up, holds him for a second, talks to the sister, and all of a sudden, passes it off to this bishop. The bishop turns around, tosses him right back to the sister. Boom, like that. Oh, heathen alert, heathen alert. We can't have this. Oh my God. Okay. I lost all respect for that man. All respect for him at that time. And I've watched how it's become so politicalized. It's nothing more than for show and tell. So when I see these overly famed YouTube channels, they have these little proverbs of somebody walking down a dark street with a staff in hand and a robe, to what do they call those? Those automated screenshots where you got multiple people, versions of yourself floating across the screen. To me, that's flashy. That's over flashy. That's like somebody that's acting like they're worth $1 billion to think hey, look at me, I've got it made type BS. It's not built on a firm foundation. They don't even talk about sorcery. They don't even talk about magic and how to promote the next generation. Most of the time, it's an hour and a half, 2.5 hours worth of just BS jibber jabbering between them. So when I look at Elmira's page, I listen to the wisdom he's putting out. He puts out a lot of good wisdom, a lot of good advice. It's almost like he's a psychologist in a sense. He's not sitting there going, you don't have people out there going, well, here, if you want to know more about this, subscribe at this whatever.com. Give me money and I'll teach you. I hate that BS. I do. So the reason that Elder Mage, his comment caught me so fancy, it's caught me so funny, is I was looking underneath the comments and it goes, yes, this. I'm reading one, or I read 50, books a year. It's like, it kind of caught me funny because I posted, I sent him a message and I go, these are the 3 I'm currently reading. Because number 1, through working with my patron and patroness, I've been thinking a lot about the definition and what a warlock is. I've been thinking a lot about my own business and how to improve on that, financially speaking. I had this boss. His name was Lou Lima. He runs a chain of Dunkin' stores around my area. He was actually the first fast food restaurant that actually hired me when I left Tractor Supply. And there was this girl I used to work with there. She got fired. And it was funny because of the fact that she turned around trying to call his district manager a pedophile and everything. And it's like, you do realize this man is married, number 1. Number 2, he clearly is showing photos of having children with this woman. Okay? He may be young, probably late 20s, early 30s, but you look at, he's running a business for the owner. So I showed the owner one day what she had been posting all over social media. Okay? And it was funny because he looked right at me and he said, I don't give a shit about that stuff. I don't have time for that childish behavior. Why? Don't you like your image? She's tarnishing your business because you're associating with your DM, who she's claiming is a registered sex offender, basically. And he's got no criminal record. So he looked right at me and he said, I don't care about what people are saying. I'm running a business. And that business is what matters. You're going to have hate mail. You're going to have your haters. You're going to have your likes, your likers. Hell, you'll even have your followers. So I sat down with this guy and this district manager a few months later, and they started teaching me about business. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that I was introduced to Robert Kiyosaki's work, specifically that of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I kind of expanded my book collection based off his work because his work is so mind-blowing, you know? And I'm looking at this as a practitioner, but I'm also looking at this as a a businessman myself. because not only am I working in another owner's Dunkin' Donuts, you know, but ow, legs are falling asleep here. But I'm also running my own business, as well on the side. I'm also investing. So it was like I'm flashing back to this point and how all of this is kind of falling into place, bettering myself. So when I see these so-called big time practitioners out there that people are flocking to, like they're God or something, I'm wondering, why are they having so many issues in their lives? Why are they having so much drama in their lives? Could it be that the demons are testing them? Possibly. Is it because they're bringing this on themselves? Definitely possible. There's an old expression within the Christian Bible that says, you reap what you sow. You sow good fruit, you're going to prosper. You sow rotted fruit, you are going to constantly fail. So I took all this into account. And since I was thinking about the term warlock, and I've been practicing a solo practice as a necromancer, following the way of lichdom, and I'm really enjoying this. I've been benefiting the last couple of years since I've delved solely into my practices through this spiritual journey. Started last January of last year. I've benefited in so many different ways. I've got I've got employees looking at me as an elder. I've got the communities looking at me as an elder. My name is associated with people that I've never even met or even heard of. People are just recommending people to me saying, "Hey, this guy knows what he's doing." And it's like, well, that's one way to get promotion, you know, because of the fact that, I'm not out here being flashy. I don't give two shits about being flashy. I don't care about being liked. Maybe that's the warlock side of me. I don't know. But it's it's so funny that the one thing every system of sorcery speaks on is a strong foundation. You got to have that strong foundation. You go to the Satanic Temple, they're going to put you into a system, their school, so that you can learn that strong foundation. You go to the Church of Satan, even Magister Dr. Robert Johnson clearly states to have a firm understanding of the tenets within the Satanic Bible. Okay, before you can move up the ranks. If you go underneath the Church of Satan's website, you'll notice the ranking systems. You'll notice the titles and degrees, and how many years or how many levels of initiation, if you will, that takes place. You go into any coven, like say, let's go into the Witch's Bible. It shows you a wide range of doctrines, tenets, rules, regulations, things like the Law of Three or the Witch's Creed, the Witch's Pyramid, the Witch's Oath, to dare, to know, to will, all that fun stuff, and a lot more. Things, a way to live your life, and it comes down to a lifestyle. So it doesn't matter what religion you go to. Even in the path that I walk, it has a tenet on different years. You have to have a certain amount of phylacteries. You have to have a certain amount of tests. You have to have a certain amount of spiritual insight and growth, certain amount of followers you have brought into the organization, if you will, the coven, the temple, the church, whatever. Every single one of these has this. But yet, when you get on social media, you go out into the world, you go into a botanica, you have people asking questions, and you got the employees that aren't even practitioners. They have a small amount of understanding, but yet you also can find people that get in there and they go, "Oh, I would recommend this for cleansing of your aura or your home." So you got somebody like me that's been doing this for 35 plus years, and you recommend a couple of different other techniques that are more cheap, more cost efficient, and you can get them just about anywhere. Hobby Lobbies, Walmart, you know, um, a Botanica, whatever, and it's like it's cheaper, cost efficient, and you're not, you know, putting it out in a kidney, if you will. Wow, huh? Don't they hate that? Because you're giving their clients, their potential clients, ideas on how to grow. You're giving them alternative abilities to think upon. More so, you're showing them the product that's also in that store, that Botanica, that they can easily go, okay, so if I take this, this, and this, put it in a medicine bag, carry that on me, it will not just heal me, cleanse me, but it will rejuvenate me. Yeah. Wow, that's knowledge. That's worth more than any printed dollar. And they spent maybe $10. That hurts the business. It does. It hurts the business. I won't BS you on that. It does hurt their business. But if they were upfront with a customer, they'd be getting more customers because they would realize, hey, this person's earnestly trying to help their clientele. That's one thing I learned from Tractor Supply is when you have the knowledge, a firm foundation, and you're selling the product. I had a guy, he wanted a winch for his truck. And he asked me for a advice. He said, I've got a mud field out there. My tractor keeps getting stuck. I've got this truck. I've got to go about 6 to 8 feet in. What do you recommend? I said, outside of a tow truck, I would recommend these winches. And he says, well, how many BTUs do I need to get my truck out? And I told him, I said, how heavy is the tractor? Is it like a lawn tractor? Is it, one of those tractors where you're plowing a field? Is it, what kind of tractor do you have? And he told me, and I said, okay, for one, I would not recommend the 24,000 BTU. I would go with the 37 BTU. It's got more durability. It's got more cord power, and it can do this, 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 and this. Okay. But I would also recommend that you get some of these tow chains attach as well, because that will also help when you're pulling the tractor out. Yes, I added on to that sale. Why? Because number one, the winch alone is not going to do a lot. It's going to wear the winch out and the motor out, even though, depending on how stuck and entrenched that tractor's wheels are. Okay. Even if, say, for example, it burns out the motor and it's stuck in gear, well, guess what? You're going to have to pull that entire tractor out just to get to it. So if you add in hooks, the hook chains to the base and the foundation, and you're pulling that along with the whinge, you're going to have a much easier time. Okay. So there's a lot of different factors through having that knowledge that's going to benefit the client. And that's going to become a repeat customer. Now, if you're thinking about what you do as a warlock or a witch, I want you to think in the same way. What can I do to better my life, to build that foundation, build those pillars in a strong, supportive manner? It's not about popularity. It is not about ego. It is not about pride or flashiness. It's about knowledge. It's about bettering your own understanding, your own life. So I found it interesting because this book here, I'm pretty sure it was written by a woman, even though it's got a guy's name on it. Okay. And the reason I say that is just by the way it's written. It sounds more feminine to me. I don't know why. Let me just read you something real fast. A man must be prepared to give 100% of his purpose, fulfill his karma, and dissolve it, and then let go of that specific form of living. He must be capable of not knowing what to do with his life, entering a period of unknowingness, and waiting for a vision or a new form of purpose to emerge. These cycles of strong, specific action, followed by periods of not knowing what the hell is going on, are natural for a man who is shedding layers of karma and his relaxation into truth. Okay? That was on page 39. Okay? I found this book very insightful and very interesting. And I found it interesting because since I've been following the tenets in that book, just applying them to my life, I've got upper management talking with me. I've got people talking with me that I don't normally associate with. I've got women popping up out of my Signal, app. I've got women coming in and they're underneath my WhatsApp app. They're going on my channels and they're hitting me up saying, "Hey, I want to talk with you." Even my son's mother, out of the blue, has been asking me to stay at her place overnight. You can stay if you want to. She's been making excuses of me being the counselor for her to, talk to me about her problems, and then on top of that, invite me over for dinner and stuff. And my apprentice and I were talking about this. Does she want you back? you know, and it's like, I don't know, you know, and it's funny because I bought this book off TikTok Shop, and it was actually one of the best things I've ever done, and I thought it was kind of interesting. And what this one here, I've been following Donald Trump's work and Robert Kiyosaki's work. In fact, I've actually had conversations with Robert Kiyosaki personally, and he was surprised at my understanding of his work and how entrenched I was in it. Still am, actually. His books have really laid down things that benefited me and my family on a huge level. My son's mother, she just went through a course and became a CRMA. I'm impressed. I always support education and anything that deals with education. I support. And it's benefiting her in her career in the long run. So I supported that. So what's funny is I always have money and she doesn't. And the reason why is because I've been following his work. So I found this one as well. I Will Teach You to Become Rich by Ramit Sethi. Sethi? No, if I apologize for butchering your name if I get that wrong. How host of Netflix's How to Get Rich. No guilt, no excuses, no BS, just a 6-week program that works. I got this one on TikTok Shop as well. And it's, you get underneath TikTok and you get these ads that sit there and go, I'm pretty sure this is why TikTok's getting banned. Well, those are a couple of the books that happen to be on them. So I got them. Now, as you know, I was a practicing Satanist for about 35 years, 11 years old, all the way up until a few years ago, when I dedicated myself solely to necromancy. It's no secret that Anton Szandor LaVey's work and his works really resonate with me. I love his works, just like Alistair Knott and his works. Two of the most renowned Satanists. One was the founder of the Church of Satan. The other one has his own little radio show and written numerous books, and he's the head of a coven out of, I believe, Cologne, Germany, if I remember correctly. And he lives in Florida. But anyways, for years, male practitioners could only utilize the Satanic Witch, the Complete Witch, if you will, which used to be an orange book, which is now a pink book. Figure that one out. Okay, I blame Blanche Barton. She's the one that forwarded that one. And I'll show you what I mean. So, this is the Satanic Witch today. Okay, it's a pink book. It's introduced by Peggy Ned Ramia, the wife of their current Magus, Peter H. Gilmore, and afterward by Blanche Barton. Okay? So, yeah, I had to pick on her a little bit there. Now, don't get me wrong, the works in that, the Complete Witch, or I should say the new forwarded version of it by Blanche Barton and everything. This book here is something that is unique because it puts forth a clock scenario of personality types from your, let's call it the way it is, psychological perspectives. It's like an overview of somebody's life. Okay? So you can look at it from 12 to 3, from 3 to 6, 3 to 9, and so forth. And then you got what's in between that allows you to be either dominant, male, masculine, feminine, what kind of car you're going to drive, what kind of job you're going to have. The whole complete works. That's why it's called the clock synthesizer. Synthesizer. There, that's a tongue twister. But anyways, so I want to say this book here. So when this book came out, let's see, when did it come out? 2016. Yeah, it was 2016. Just want to make sure. Yeah. Apparent Press 2018. No, 2118. Yeah. So, yeah, 2016 is when this book came out. I went out and I bought that book. And I started reading that book, and it was like, God damn. A lot of this fit me as a practicing Satanist. And it's from a masculine perspective because it's also that psychological perspective. And it is, as Peterson would put it, is a parapsychology look at your own life, dissecting your own brain, dissecting your own actions. Taking all that BS and all that stupidity and just like the baby in the bathwater analogy, straight out the fucking, sink, out through the fucking drain, whatever you want to call it. And this one here is based off Anton's actual works. And I love that about that book. So, like I said earlier, I got started. I've been working as a male practitioner. I am a male practitioner. I am a warlock. Why do I relate to being a warlock? Well, you look at what a the definition of a warlock is today, and that is from the Welsh and Anglo-Saxon perspectives of etymology, which is a liar, a betrayer, an oath breaker. Okay, basically an overall devil, if you will. So why why is so many of today's white light practitioners hate the term warlock? You use the term warlock, and you'll get a bunch of masculine, these men getting under there, completely, indoctrinated. Go, a man is just a male witch. We use the term witch. Really? Since when? The 1970s, when it became synonymous with little girls in witch outfits for Halloween? Or are we talking the 1980s, 70s and 80s with Saunders and Buckland and their little organizations? How about when the Witch's Bible came out? It showed men being second class citizens. They can't even run an organization like, say, a coven in Wiccan and pagan circles. Why? Because apparently now a male witch is now considered a wizard. Hey, does anybody remember folklore, mythology, anthropology practices where a wizard was a wizard? Is just a wizard is nothing more than a mage. Wow. Huh. A warlock was a practitioner, keeper of the secrets, just like women being a witch, keeper of the secrets, European traditions. Or how about the Hexa, the Strega, the Eshi or the Yaji, going from European all the way down into Africa, tribal based. Huh. This is how the world views it. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm proud to be called a warlock. I don't care what anybody says about me. This is one hell of a book. So I found it interesting. I'm not just doing all this reading off social media. I'm working, I'm raising a family, adding to the family all the time. You got 4 cats, 2 dogs, a 6-year-old boy, my ex. 2 different apartments. And yeah, I'm even helping her pay hers. So I look back at my life and it's like, yeah, damn straight I'm contemplating, why did I become a warlock to begin with? What was it about it that attracted me? How I could do things naturally right off the bat. Strong personality, driven, motivated through education. Yeah, I'm definitely the bad guy because I don't have any drama in my life. I've got zero drama. Even when my ex comes in and starts telling me about the problems in her life, how she's stressed out, my mother, coming into my life and going, hey, this is what's going on. I worry, I worry, I worry. And it's like, why are you worrying about stuff that don't fucking matter? It, because society says so? Fuck society. This is why I stepped back from society. I'm not ruled by society's norms. This is what makes me the bad guy, scapegoat. I'm okay with that. So, if stepping away from society and norms to build your own life is heathenry these days, by all means, embrace it. It's a good thing. Denzel Washington once said, and this is from a Christian perspective, I might add, and he said, the way the devil works is when you're doing something you're not supposed to do, everything's going according to your world, to your right. The devil's not attacking you. But when you're doing the right things, that's when you're going to be attacked by the devil. And I found that saying interesting. Why? Because if you look at your life, when you're going with society and their norms, you're playing by the rules, you're a good little sheep. You got no issues with anybody. But when you go to step outside the norms, you challenge the system, you get attacked. You become hated. You become the bad guy. You become synonymous with Satan, the adversary, the accuser. And that alone shows you that most of this world is living in a world designed as a matrix, if you will. I believe it was D.H. Thorne that actually used that term the first time that I heard it. The matrix. Although it could have been J.S. Garrett too, but but anyways, yeah, the matrix term was there. And if you think about it, what is servitude? What is sheephood? What is your definition of being a slave to a system? It's damned if you do and damned if you don't, just like being in church. But when you step away from that, and you really get down to the nitty gritty, you start learning for yourself. You become the bad guy. You become the brua, the brua, the male and female practitioners. You start evolving in your own world. Why? Because you're building a firm foundation. You're learning for yourself, and they can't have that. That's why you're hated. That's why you're dubbed the warlock, the liar, the betrayer, the oath breaker. Why else do they sit there and have you renounce the American anthem in your schools? Why do they now make it a curriculum of having a Christian Bible in their schools? No other system of religious philosophy is allowed in these schools. Only a Bible. But yet you're going to make time to make a small room of worship for Islam. What about witches? What about witches? Warlocks? What about the curriculums that have been taught long before Christian was a concept in its mother's womb? What about long before Christ was even considered a thought form? Zoroastrianism is older. There are much older systems of sorcery that go back hundreds of thousands of years. What about them? Oh, that's right. They're not Christian because you've been indoctrinated from birth, not even given a chance to study, to practice anything outside of that. You grew up in fear. You grew up in ignorance, behind closed doors. That's why. My son actually looked at me, not yesterday, but the night before, and he quoted a Christian word, a phrase. He said, Jesus is his Lord and Savior. I wonder who's been feeding him that. A 6-year old. A 6-year-old child. You're brainwashing a 6-year-old child. I looked right at him and I said that I can't associate with you. I will not be associated with ignorance. You'll always be my son, but as long as you want to walk that path, I cannot be around you. I will not be a part of that ignorant society. I've got nothing against the religion, just the people. And he knows that he can come to me with anything. He needs clothes, I'll get him for him. He needs food, I will make sure he's fed. But when it comes to that world, I will not have anything to do with it. So I'm pretty sure he's just trying to get a reaction. He's pulling his mother's tricks. Because that's what they do. But here it is. Even just those words alone shows me that he's being programmed. Not giving a choice. Not giving him the ability to choose for himself. So much for the bar mitzvah. So much for the Yom Kippur rituals, huh? That's normally around puberty. But hey, what can I say? All these Christians teach from birth, baptize and everything, because that's the way they work. But if you truly want to build a firm foundation, and you truly want to break away from that ignorance and that ego and pride and flashiness, by all means, better yourself. Because that's all you can do. That's all you can do is benefit yourself. Let's see. Lily Lucy. Yeah, I could go with you on that. It is laughable. I mean, even today, you got people bashing him, hating on him, and it's like, do you know how many conversations I've had with this guy? I'm not joking. I've had a lot of conversations. I've been a part of podcasts through a mutual friend. Hell, I've even gotten underneath his live podcasts on TikTok, and I've talked to him. I've literally got him in some of those live videos talking and contemplating in deep thought forms, and it's like he's like, brother, that is deep. You just got me, focused on this now, and it's like, yep, just about, yeah, it does it, and I do that sometimes, but I've had good conversations with the guy. He doesn't come across as a cult leader. He doesn't come across as somebody that's anti, livelihood. He's an educator, but he's also a businessman, you know? But he's an occultist, pure and simple. And I have no issues with the guy. I think E.A. Koenig is a cool guy. That's just me. Basically, yes. And the Black Tower. That is correct. If you work on yourself and worry about just yourself, there won't be any drama. Correct. And that's one thing I've noticed is over the last few years, I've literally been backing away from social media, and I've actually closed down a lot of my groups that I've had, and I want to be around and associated with people that are constantly educating themselves, constantly growing. Those That's the people that I want to be around. I don't want to be around these leeches, these people that are nothing more than armchair magicians, as S. Conley so colorfully puts it. They're just there to be like leeches, weights, the anchors for ships, if you will. That's all they are. They're users. I would rather be around people that are actually going somewhere, that's actually making their lives better. And as you just said, work on yourself. That's the way I look at it. And the more I work on myself, the more I find myself separated from society. Like yesterday morning, I laid it out brutally to my general manager and AGM. I laid it right out there in front of them. And I'm pretty sure my other coworkers just ran for the fucking hills. Because I had had enough, and they asked, and I laid it out there for them. I don't think anybody was expecting me to do something like that. My general manager just stood there, completely baffled, silence, the whole kid caboodle. He had no words. He just listened, like, fuck. If he's leaving, I'm screwed. You know? And the AGM is sitting there doing numerous things. And it's like, that ain't gonna cut it. You got all these different people, and you're going to one person every fucking day. Okay? You got these people not doing their jobs, but you're going to discipline one person out of 50. That's called duality. That's called hypocrisy. That's called singling out, which goes against the labor laws. This is why they don't fuck with me, because I have no problems putting them in their place. And I'm pretty sure that's why they don't have me scheduled when the owner comes into town. Because I'll lay it right out in front of her too. I don't give a fuck. And yeah, it is the nature of the adult, hands down. And Lily Lucy, the one thing I always try to do is, and I always say this in my videos, either at the beginning or at the end, is always back up what you preach with multiple different sources. Okay? Give references, give topics, because it shows that you are backing up what you're talking about with numerous different sources. Now, you look at what I've done in this video alone. I've talked about how flashy, Bokor Leonard Elmira is. Okay, but yet I've also told you that this guy comes from wisdom and knowledge. You look at what he's putting out content wise. He's a businessman, yes, but he's also a Bokor. And if you've grown up in the world of voodoo, doesn't matter if you're from New Orleans, Haitian voodoo, or voodoo from Africa, you're going to see that rich environment, that knowledge that has been passed down either orally or through teacher and apprentice style. And a lot of times it is a hierarchy, if you will, a family religious practice. So, I mean, either way, you're looking at it, he's coming from a firm foundation. Henceforth, when his channel was taken down and he had to start a new one, he doubled what he had previously through dedication and hard work, which goes to show you, Lily, Lucy, that when you do the work, you're going to benefit from it. It's a personal nature. Everybody says a warlock is out for themselves. It's true. We are out for ourselves. We don't give a flying fuck about joining a coven. We don't care about the norms. It's a business. We work for the spirits. If we have to be like Anton Szandor LaVey and go, hey, guess what? I've elevated myself to God stature because now I'm equal to a witch. Ooh, wow. We just brought right back from the 16th century right back into the 20th century. Wow. interesting. But I've also talked about EA Quang. There's things I've spoken quite frankly. There's things about his business I don't like. Some of the things that, but I've also stated that the way he does his orientations, spectacular. The guy represents in those videos, you know. But yet you sit there during a a live podcast with a guy, and you're watching how he's kind of twitching and rolling his eyes. Well, he's even said he doesn't like looking at the camera because it distracts him. Okay, so when you look at that and you go, okay, so looking directly at a camera, like say if I'm looking here at the screen, right here, I've got all these, comments. Okay. So if I'm looking here, I'm not paying attention to over here. Okay. But his method is he'll sit there and kind of roll his eyes and kind of this type of thing. That helps him focus his mind, his energy, because he's got a lot of it. Somebody like him or I have a lot of energy, you know, but you consider what we do for a living as well. We both have jobs. We both are practitioners. That's commonality. We've both got a lot of knowledge. I've started up numerous covens. They've all went belly up. A lot of the members kept dying off. I feel like a black widow, but at a band perspective. But or they've just gone their own way. And we've separated over time. And it does happen. Either through disease, or just, falling apart. My brother Brian Stilling and I, we were tight for almost a decade, and then all of a sudden we just fork in the road. It happens. Doesn't mean I don't care for the guy. It doesn't mean that, he's not my brother, because he'll always be my brother. He went back to what he knows, and I took a new path. It happens. So, and then, I've talked about Melinda Lyons. I've talked about John Ramirez, kind of giving you a few more sources to check out and look into, and what they're doing. And it's like ignorance is bliss, but it's also run by pride, ego, and money. Hell, even Robert Johnson, right here, you know, this guy comes out and he says that he was associated with certain magazines, certain editorials, certain businesses, and it is about money to a point, but it comes down to what you are into. Now, for me, it's always education. I love to educate myself. I love to self grow, to evolve. I've always said when I do sorcery, I'm looking to define and redefine it. I want to make it more potent, not just from my practices, but maybe give you guys something to be based off of, learn from. Hell, even use sometimes. That's why I give certain rituals every so often, ideas of this is how this occurred during this particular ritual. I did a curse once, and I ended up taking it from a effigy of a photo, putting it into a curse jar, and then all of a sudden, about a week and a half later, it's like, what about a Dybbuk box? So I created a Dybbuk box, put everything in it, sealed it up, had the seals and the warnings and all that stuff between the inside and the outside of it. Then I tried to dispose of it, and I've told you guys, I went here, I went here, I went here, and it's like, fuck it, I just threw it in the fucking river. Disposed of it in a natural current, natural element. So it happens. So that's why I do what I do, so that you guys can learn. But as the Black Tower so put it, it's a mature adult in you. There comes a time when you put childish stuff behind, and you really get past the silliness of it. And I think there's too much silliness and childish behavior in the communities today. A lot of it. And it's not just in religious circles either. It's in the businesses. It's in socialism in general. It's everywhere, including in your own families. And it's like, this is why I've stepped back. I don't want nothing to do with it. I would rather have you two lock yourself in a bedroom, and you guys duke it out, you know? Do whatever you gotta do. Scream, yell, claw, player pulling, whatever. Work it out. you know? And I said this, it was funny because when my son's mother and I got together, she got into it with my mother so many times, and they're both looking at me. Okay? They're both looking at me, and it's like, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't have the energy. And it's like I finally just looked at it and said, "Why don't you guys go lock yourself in a room and duke it out? You two deal with it. Leave me the fuck out of it." And that's the way it is. So I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. Lily Lucy being guided to EA. He's a good teacher. He has a lot of knowledge. It's just like J.S. Garrett or J.D. Temple. I've communed with both of them. I've talked with them. I've had conversations with them. You know, some more than more. I've talked with EA probably more than with the other two now, but it's there. You know, hell, I've even talked with Anna Menora a few times, and it's like they're cool. They're doing their thing. I'm doing mine. Am I drawn to them? No, I'm not drawn to their works. I like listening to what they're doing because it kind of will jog something in my own brain, and every so often it's like, I want to explore this. So it does happen. If you don't, we all bring something to the table, and we're all learning from each other. So it works either on one level or others. Let's see. Well, I look at it like this too. It's not just, as you put it, a hole. It's not just a hole that allowed him to redefine his business or his practices. Enemies who are seeking to destroy you. And the one thing I have realized within the last year and a half to 2 years is there is a spiritual warfare going on. And there is a spiritual warfare. When my son's mother and I separated, I went through a month and a half of being in a very dark place. And I mean a very dark place. I'm talking heavy drinking, heavy rituals. I'm talking I lost myself big time in that darkness. My own coworkers stayed away from me. You know, they did not want anything to do with me because it was like I had just stepped into something far darker than they've ever seen. And it was interesting because during that time, I started I went back to that church that I spoke of earlier, and I sat there for about a month. This was throughout October, and about a year and a half ago, a little over a year and a half ago. And out of all the conversations from the pastors and everything there, one thing was made clear to me during that month. We are responsible for our own actions, our own lives. We rise to success on our own. We die on our own. We are alone no matter what. But more than that, there is a spiritual war. There is a spiritual war. And you've got two different sides, and you have to choose one or the other. Well, during this time, I was sitting there, and I was in the back pew, and I was just sitting there, and I'm not even paying attention to what was being spoken by the clergyman from a whole other state. I think the guy was from like San Francisco, I think, San Diego. Hell, I can't remember. I wasn't paying attention to the guy. But it dawned on me that I let this cancer into my life. I let it into my life. No one else. I'm the one that got involved with a known Christian. She told me she was a Christian. We had a family together. I'm a black magician, a sorcerer. To me, your religion is your own. But the way that ended, the way it ended, that relationship, it was. She cheated on me 3 times. There's an old expression that says, once a cheater, always a cheater. Zebras don't change their stripes, and leopards don't change their spots. But it was me who allowed it to continue. Me. And I realized that I wasn't just dealing with her BS and her actions. I wasn't just dealing with my own family's drama that they were bringing to my door. I was also dealing with her zealot family, her zealot parents who were Christians, and they were actively attacking me. This was my fault because I allowed it to happen. I allowed it to happen. And that was my responsibility. It falls on no one else but me. Okay? So I ended up getting back into sorcery. I stopped teaching. And I decided I'm going to do a 2-year, 3-month spiritual journey that could take longer. So here we are, a year and 7 months after I began that journey. Okay? And this is what I want you to pay attention to, Lily Lucy. It does not matter how your rise to fame comes. You could be Donald Trump going against every stature of method that most political practitioners use. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. He has been hated by both. But yet, the one thing that he can say under his belt proudly and pridefully is number one, no nation invaded another during his administration. And number two, every fucking nation is willing to work with him, is willing to work with him as a United States president. Every single one. Those are the two things. And three, he runs his own business. He's backed by other capitalists. This guy knows what he's doing. And he made it better. Okay? E.A. Koenig rose to fame. He started threatening the system. Now, this is the point that I'm trying to make with you. You can look at it in that positive nature of he there was a hole in his system, his foundation, that allowed him to redefine his business and purpose. That is a very good way to look at it. But from a spiritualist perspective, from somebody who practices spiritualism, who works with spirits, who works with demons and other entities, I can tell you that there's a spiritual war going on. That door, that little window, that little peephole was just enough for an enemy of the state to come in and hurt him. It only takes one little pinhole. And then you have the Titanic going down. That's all it takes. And as a black magician, a sorcerer, a warlock, I can tell you that that is very true. Eric Coetting can tell you that's very true. Bokor Leonard Elmera can tell you that that's true. But here's the thing. You can either let that experience define your life and keep you down, which is what normally happens when you are attacked. You become an introvert, if you will. You're too afraid to go out into the world. You're too afraid to try new things because you're afraid that you will get hurt. It's that big what if. Or you could be that 1% will sit there and go, I'm going to reevaluate my life, the choices I've made, and I'm going to learn from these experiences and redefine my practice, my ways. That's the way I look at what happened to E.A. Coetting. Okay. Number one, all his videos were taken down. His channels were taken down. He was kicked off Amazon over a fucking news article that he had nothing to do with. Okay. Just because some idiot kid that had no foundation got underneath his forum for about 2 weeks, does that make him the bad guy? No. That tells me that this kid was looking for an excuse to commit actual crimes. It had nothing to do with E.A. Coetting. Had nothing to do with any religious foundation. He was going to do that no matter what. But he wanted an excuse. And he got that excuse. He clearly made a pact with Lucifer Trafacal. Plain and simple. But it was enough that that article came out that everybody panicked. But you know what came out of it? Not only did he get kicked off social media and Amazon, but Balg in itself imploded. So he sat there after having a little meltdown. And yes, I saw that video too, where he was throwing books out of the window into the back of a pickup truck. Tears in his eyes, the whole kit and caboodle. That was his wake-up call. That was a spiritual attack, plain and simple. That is my view of that situation. Just from an outside observer, that was the way I looked at it. And that was a way for him to go, we've become way too laxed here. Way too laxed. We opened up a hole and allowed the enemy to attack. Do you think sitting there throwing curses at churches or Christians is going to go unnoticed? You're in a spiritual warfare. Everything you do in life is a battle. If you think that this is hell, wait until you go to the next realm, to the afterlife. If you think this is an actual hell, what do you think the afterlife is going to be like? If you think you're having to fight now and you're exhausted, what do you think is going to happen after you die and move on? You're either going to go to heaven, you're going to go to hell, you know, you're going to go to purgatory. Either way you look at it, there's conflict. There's hell, there's drama. And only you can sit there and go, I'm putting my foot down and I'm staying the fuck out of it. But I'm going to sit here and I'm going to define and redefine my own practices. Well, let's see. As I told Melinda Lyons in that comment that I did on one of her videos, I said, I find it interesting. You're sitting here saying that he has been removed from everything. But yet, as of 2 months ago, he started doing a book with Kendall Connor. He started bringing in other people into his inner circle. And he's restarted his business on a whole nother level. He's even got a channel on Odyssey. He's doing podcasts with J.S. Garrett. He's doing podcasts with J.D. Temple. And even though J.D. Temple separated for a time, guess what? He's now back. As of, what was it, yesterday or the day before, I think he made an announcement that he's back with How to Become a Living God franchise. Good for him. That's the way I look at it. Good for J.D. Temple. That's a good thing. I always love his knowledge and his channel. He's got a lot of things that he brings to the table. But when you look at it, if you're not up to date on facts, you shouldn't be speaking on things. And that's the point. That's the point. And I did this, what was that? When did I do that post, that comment? I think it was last fall. It was like last fall area is when she did that video, and I commented on it. So you see, it could be that it's a teaching level where you get to that level where you're challenged, and then you have to discern to either walk away or rise as the phoenix. Well, I look at it like this. E.A. Quetting definitely rose like the phoenix. He rose from his own ashes, and he evolved. Plain and simple. You know, Bokor Leonard Amira did the same exact thing, and let me say, he came back with a fucking vengeance. I mean, I'm watching. He came on. He was doing like 15, 20 videos a day, and I mean, he's just bam. He's backing up what he's preaching. He's talking about one practitioner. Well, bam. Here's the conversation and what was going on during that time, and he's literally backing it up now, and I love that about him. I really do. And I look at these men, you know, J.D. Temple, J.S. Garrett, E.A. Quetting. You know, I look at, you know, people like Conley, you know, I look at Bokor Leonard O'Mara as elders, you know, and even my own elders, you know, for the organization I'm working in, which I don't talk about for a reason, because I'm not permitted to. But because I'd have to go to them and go, hey, I need permission. Can you give me permission to, is it okay if I speak on this topic or this particular topic? And they can either say yes or no. Because that's a sign of respect to your elders. Okay. And yes, even I at 35 plus years still have elders because we're constantly learning. So let me just go scroll up here real fast. You guys put in a few things here. All right. So yeah, that's the way I look at it, though. Lily Lucy, is it's not just a way for him to learn and grow, but redefined his business and his path workings. But it was also a way of saying, hey, you know, the enemy is firing back, and this is a wake up call saying, hey, you know, you've reached that level where you are a adversary now. You are being noticed by us, and now we're in a spiritual conflict. That's the way I look at it. And I do concur with you. There's a lot of drama that is unnecessary. So I mean, I don't care about that shit. I try to protect the integrity of the sorcery. That's what the keepers of the secrets are. They are guardians of the gate. Let's see. Actually, on the contrary, I actually am doing awesome. I have a lot of repeat customers. I am working with on a good job. I am overseeing a lot of different employees um, for opening. I'm the opening shift leader and the opening baker. I'm the primary baker. I go between stores, and it's a sacrifice that I do. Because doing what I do is, you know, if you think about it, let's hit a Christian term here. A lot of Christians look at Jesus Christ as a carpenter. Okay, he is the carpenter. He's the one that builds firm foundations, right? In my case, I'm a baker. Okay, I love to cook. I love to cook. I love to bake. And when you deal with the customers that I deal with, you forge a foundation with them, a repertoire, if you will, and they keep coming back to you because you're good at what you do. You take care of them. You look out for them. I've got people from the healthcare to system to the veterinary clinics to even law enforcement that comes in. I mean, I've been there where SWAT has literally come in full, turnout gear, and it's like, oh, look at these scrappy young men. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding them on that one. But yeah, we do have the SWAT that comes in every so often. You know, they come in full turnout gear, and they've just finished. They've just wrapped up doing their little training seminars, and they're coming in for a cold one. So I mean, this is a sacrifice in the fast food chain that I do because one thing you have to understand about being in the fast food industry is it is a sacrifice. It takes a lot of time. Just like, doing sorcery, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of dedication and commitment being a servant. Okay, not just to the public, but also to your business, and to the spirits that you work with. Not just to your elders and your teachers who are giving you assignments, okay, and adding on to that. So there is a lot of sacrificing, and I realized that I'm home maybe 4 hours out of a day. 4 hours, okay. So if you look, my eyes are weary. Around my eyes, you can see the darkness around my eyes. Okay, the bags or whatever you want to call them, and that's through exhaustion. Okay, so depending on what I'm doing, like today, I'm sitting at home. Okay, it's my first day off, my first out of 2 days off. You know, today is I've got to go I got to go pick up my son in literally about 15 minutes. I've got to go pick my son up and the two dogs. I got to watch them until his mom gets home from work. I love taking time with my son and the dogs. I've got my cats here that I play with and torment a little bit. I love getting them on catnip and then just hey, how many fingers? A little John Cena move. And but I also play with them. Strings. I'll run through the apartment. They'll chase after me. They think it's a game. I love it. I love being around animals. I love being out in nature. You know, so it's when I'm either here with the dogs, I love walking with them. I love playing with them, making that relationship with them because they're like chew toys, if you will, for humans. It's one of those things where you can learn a lot from them in the way they associate. The natural kingdoms. I mean, even if you follow Anton Szandor LaVey's um, what do they call that? The Satanic Creed or the statements, if you will, the Satanic statements. It says, "Walk as though you on two legs, but walk as though you walk on all fours." Okay, so the animal kingdom is where we are all a part of. So we're just we just got more superior minds, if you will. That's all that is. So I'm sitting here and I realized, between my sorcery, between my job, my family, I'm home maybe 4 hours out of a day. 4 hours. That's a long time to not be home. But you also look at it as though I'm driving around in a 2016 Kia Sorento. A 2000 Kia Sorento. It's an SUV. It's fully loaded. It's both automatic and standard driven. You can choose which one you want to be in. It's got all these different gears from sports to eco to regular driving modes that that align the suspension. I've got like seven. What is it now? About I want to say about 7 to 9 thousand left to pay off on that alone to the bank. Okay, and then I get the title and it's mine. Okay, so but I also look at what I'm doing. While people are sleeping half their days away, I've got money in my pocket. I'm making a living on my own. I have nobody to back me up. Okay? Nobody. I'm doing this on my own. People who sat there in my youth and said, you can't do this, you can't do that, that's not going to happen, this ain't going to happen. Well, guess what? Their feet are in their fucking mouths. I have proven every single one of these motherfuckers wrong. Okay? I have risen time and time again through self sacrifice. I have bled. I have cried. I have done everything humanly possible to survive, to make my life better. I never thought I would be an actual father or have been in a relationship because I never thought that I'd given up hope that that would ever happen. I started thinking, I'm not meant for that world. But guess what? Now I have a son. He's going to be a second grader this coming year. He's growing up too fast. He's already lost one of his baby teeth. And it's like, and he's about to lose another one. And it's like, fuck, you need to slow down, dude. You need to slow down. I'm not ready for this yet. you know, but that's just being a first time parent, perspective. So yeah, there's a lot of sacrifices that I've made. And yeah, I'm tired. I am tired. But I'm also a fighter. And I've proven that I can go with the best of them. I may not be this renowned practitioner that everybody wants to sit down with. Doesn't mean I'm not aware of them. But I also don't care if we sit down or not. I don't care if they like me or hate me. I've made my fair share of enemies. Some of them I've actually spoken of. One, we choose to stay separated. And yeah, I mentioned him for the first time in about 5 years, just the other day in a video because it was something that you know fit that particular video, and I wanted to point that out. And it was interesting because I may not look like I'm doing good, but trust me, my health is incredible. And one of the things I did was I started looking at herbalism. I started looking at the injuries that I've sustained over the years. And I started looking at the muscles that were affected. I said in a post on my Facebook page, if something matters to you, if something truly matters to you, you'll do whatever it takes to achieve it. Okay. So I love to work out. In my youth, I loved to work out. I loved to lift weights, and I was good at it. Okay. I had this physique that looked like one of those professional MMA fighters, you know, but then I injured my knee, I injured my shoulders, I broke my thumb, and I had to spend a lot of years living in pain. Well, guess what? Now I'm learning about the injuries. I'm going for higher education. I'm bettering my sorcery. I've got a repeat customers. I'm helping more with my current general manager and all the general managers came before that than anybody's done. Yeah, they may shit on me. they may look down on me and not give me that title or the probation, the numbers, but to them, I'm a primary position, and they respect me for what I do. Those who are underneath my command in the mornings, they look at me for guidance. Okay, they look at me and go, "We don't have this. What should we do?" Okay, we don't have this, but I've been told by higher ups, then switch it over to this. Okay, add this into it. Or how do you clean this machine? And I'll show them. I take the time to show them as a teacher because upper management is too busy to show them how to do the videos. Okay, that they need to do for training, and that's something that they look up to me on, and I've earned their respect as much as the upper management. But I'm at that position of being a shift leader. You know, that's where I want to be. I don't give a shit about being an AGM. I don't give a flying fuck about having my own store at this time. Okay. I'm at that primary location where all information comes through me. Okay. That's something that I enjoy. So I mean, Lucy, Lily Lucy, I'm doing awesome. Okay. And I'm constantly getting better because there's only one way, and that's up. Okay. I may get knocked down every so often, and that's a good thing because and look at it. I look at it like this. It's that critiqueness, if you will. If you can't take a little bit of criticism from somebody, you're not going to learn on how to adapt and how to grow. Okay, but yeah, I've got a lot going on that I sleep maybe 4 hours out of a day. Just 4 hours. So today and tomorrow is my first 2 days off, and I don't know how long. So I'm taking full advantage of it. I'm just relaxing. I spent some time in my ritual chamber this morning meditating. Had some candles going, some incense going, filled the entire room up with incense. Henceforth, my nose is running because of that. And it's cleaning out my senses and everything too, which helps. So, yeah, I'm doing awesome. So I'm in my loungewear too, so that's kind of cool. Let's see. Yeah, There's an old expression. You can move on, but you don't forget. I may still be associating with her. She may. I may have dinners over at her house with her and her son. I may watch the dogs that are over at her house. I may help her with her bills and all that stuff. But I haven't forgotten what she's done. Okay, there's still a lot of good that went on during our relationship, even though she cheated on me. That was just the negative side of it. I may have had to put up with her family and the hatred that they had for me as being a non-Christian. But that just comes with the rope, you know. But realizing that it was a spiritual warfare moment and that spiritual warfare was a real thing, yeah, that was something for me to refine my way of thinking. And because of that, I ended up going on a spiritual retreat. And you know what? It's the best thing I've ever done. I spend so much time in the altar room. I spend so much time either at the cemetery, walking, down at the riverfront, or walking in the woods. Like today, I'm going to be taking the dogs out to the woods, on the trails and stuff. I think it would be good because it'll be the first time that Duke has actually been in the woods, since coming to our household. So, and he had his first vet appointment yesterday, and we actually found out that he's only got one testicle. The other one may not have dropped, and yeah, I got him laughing. I said, that's what happens when you don't take no for an answer. You know, the the female dogs are gonna gang up on your ass, but but it's there. Uh, well, I appreciate that creepy pastate. Was that pastate? Yeah, but I'll just call you creepy. Um, But yeah, like I said, that's just normal stuff you deal with in the mundane world. It's always the spirits that if you don't learn from people and you're not noticing the signs every so often, the universe and the spirits will just sit there and go, "Guess what? Here's a life lesson for you." I've had a couple of those in my life. Trust me, sucks. The first time I actually had something like that really happen to me was down in South Tucson. I was walking the streets at about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning during the hours of meridian, the devil's hours. And I had gone without food, water, or sleep for like, it was really the first time I ever fasted. And I had, I was so tired and exhausted, frustrated, and I was at that lowest point in my life. And I hit that point, that breaking point, that cusp, and I started yelling out. I didn't give a flying fuck which spirit answered at that point. It was like nothing I did was going right. And I remember after I did that, the very next day I woke up in a place called Kena. Think of the biggest hospitals that you know combined with a psychiatric, unit in their own canine unit with their security force. And that's Tucson for you. So, I mean, I woke up in the ER. Apparently, I had passed out, and they kept me there for a day, and to make sure that I was hydrated and that I had slept and rested. And I ended up meeting a guy that got me into. He was serving tacos there, freshly made tacos, and I became associated with him. And he taught me Palo Mayumbi, and I hung out with his family and everything too, right up until I left Tucson. And it was the best thing I ever did. So, and that's when my life turned for the better. It was back in, what was it, 2011, I think, 2010 when that happened. No, that was 2009, rather. Sorry, 2009, because it was right after a long-term family friend passed away from cancer. And it really hit me hard because I was the one that had to do CPR on him until the paramedics came. So, but yeah, anyways. So, yeah, yeah, it kind of sucks being single parents, doesn't it? And then being a man and having the man's priorities and the way society sees you as a man on top of that, but and how women are supposed to act, and the way society sees a woman supposed to be in society. It's like, what's the fucking point of that? Does anybody remember the old days where there was an old Viking saying that you don't marry your best friend, you marry somebody you can go to war with, because at that point they don't just fight with you, they have seen you at your best and your worst. You know, so I can see why you don't. None of the relationships I've had with Christians have worked out. In fact, they've bombed quite pitifully, if you will. So, but yeah, I stopped caring how people saw me as a man. I stopped seeing, being the type of being that they wanted, started being what I wanted and what I expected of myself. And, and so yeah, being a fighter, you always bounce back. That's correct. Well, that's always a good thing. Have you, since massage therapy, have you tried Reiki? Maybe getting into chiropractic as well. That could benefit you in a long run, Lily Lucy, especially if you're getting into herbalism and therapeutic incenses and stuff and aromas. Get into making bath oils and stuff like that. They'll also help you. Alchemy is a fun thing. I love alchemy. Being a mad alchemist is kind of cool. Although there's one mixture I will not do again because that knocked me on my ass for like 3 days. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that's true. Not that guy. Welcome to the channel, by the way. That's actually true, Lily Lucy. Everyone cheats, male and female. There's very few loyal individuals out there. But anyways, it's 1 after 7. I've got to be at my ex's house at 1:30. It's my personal responsibility as a father to go take care of my son until she gets home. Yeah, the funny thing is, he actually crawled up onto the futon next to me last night and dozed off with a blanket over him, and that was kind of fun. Yeah, and then having the dogs at my feet and everything, that was kind of cool too. I love that. Who knows? Maybe down the road I'll have a good woman by my side again. Who knows? But then again, you know, I'm loyal as a archbishop to those that I work with, spirit, to the spirits and my patron and patroness, to the faith and the religion that I walk. So I don't know. Who knows what the future holds, right? But I got to go get dressed and head over there. I'm pretty sure he's going to need lunch anyways. Probably take him to get a Subway or something, and then go down to the waterfront and have a picnic. You know, maybe the dogs will love that too. Because as I told the vet yesterday with Duke, it was he got put in his place not only by me, but which was funny because I spoke to him and I gave him that command through the obedience training that I've been doing with him, and he just stood still and watched so he can get the shots in his hindquarters. The vet and the tech was actually very surprised to see how good he did with that command. But it was funny because they came in and was watching him play with Opal, who's another purebred Siberian Husky, his baby mama, if you will, because she's actually with child now, and it was funny because she sat there and put his snout in her mouth, and the tech is like, the vet, not the tech, but the vet is like, you cannot devour his snout. So it was kind of funny. But yeah, but anyways, yeah, who knows what the future holds. We basically grow and mature in our own way and in our own time. So I think I think that if people took more time and focused on themselves and build that strong foundation, you're going to find how much better off you'll be. And one of the examples that I came up with, and I came across years ago, and I kind of redefined it a little bit, is think of a bullseye in a dartboard. That's you, your immediate family. Okay. The what is it, the 5 or 10 ring that's around it, that's your immediate families. Your friends are in the next one out, and then everyone else expands from there. So if you take it like that and you focus on yourself and you better yourself, and like I said, I always support education. Always. It's the best thing out there. If you focus on that and you truly focus on what you're doing, your practices, your business, your spiritual, communions, your lives, and get into all aspects of it, and don't do it, 50% of the time, but make it a lifestyle. You're going to see a huge improvement. I look back at the last year of my life, year and 7 months, just the last year and 7 months, and I can't believe how far I've come. Or even in the last 2 years, I should say. Not only have I become an archdeacon, but I also got my doctorate of divinity. I've earned it. And on top of that, I've got my own business that I've started up. I'm I'm looked at from all the GMs in my district that want me as their baker. I've got the respect of the general manager, the regional manager, down to individual general managers, AGMs, and my own coworkers, because I've put the work and the time in to not only helping them to succeed, but what I do above and beyond my own duties. And I do that because that's me. That's me. That's what I do. Teaching is a good way to find that protocol, to find that firm foundation. And if you can get a strong foundation going and find the select few that you can trust, there's no telling how high you can radiate heat, if you will. All right. Exactly. Self improvement. Exactly. That's the best thing out there. So lately, I've been thinking a lot about the definition of warlock and what in today's world, I don't know where they fucking got it from. I heard this term the other day for the first time, and it was called warlockery. Warlockery. What the fuck is warlockery? you know, what the fuck are these guys come? Where are they getting this shit? You're a warlock. It's either a coven of warlocks, a warlock, or you're a practitioner. You know, there's no warlockery. It's the magic of a warlock, sorcery of a warlock. That's it. Not warlockery. So I've been doing a lot of weightlifting, a lot of cardiovascular activities. I've been doing a lot of meditation and a lot of fasting. So, and then you're putting in all these long hours and what I'm doing. And I can see why my mother's worried about the lack of sleep, and what I'm doing. And in her mind, I'm being abused. And it's like, how am I being abused when this is what I choose to do? It is my life. I'm choosing to do this. Okay. And then on the other hand, you got work and the demands, and then you got family life. So this is stuff that you have to make the decision on for yourself. Do you want to make this a lifestyle, the path for you? And if so, then fucking go for it. 100%. Or as my late brother, John Saunders, child of maggot, you know, the best Satanist I ever knew. You know, he may be dead and gone, buried, fallen to cancer, but, I always loved that phrase that he always did, 666%. And you know what? It fits. Don't do 100%, do 666%, you know, because only then are you going to succeed. All right. Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that when you fast, you're resetting your system. If you have ailments in your body through your organs, your cardiovascular system, your digestive system, whatever you have, you'd be surprised what just taking a 21-day fast or a 35-day fast, depending on how crazy you want to be. You can even do the milk fast, the black fast, the Daniel's fast, all different levels. And now they have a scientific measured one called the Keta fast. So, I mean, fasting resets your system, but it also purifies your temple, your body. It gets rid of all the toxins and everything. And trust me, the first time you do that, let's just say you're going to be in for a fun time. So, that's a good thing, Lucy Lily. But yeah, balance is always a good thing. And when you learn to balance things, you'd be surprised what you're capable of doing. But I'm going to get off here. I got to go get dressed. I got 15 minutes before I got to be there. Luckily, I'm only about 5 to 6 minutes away, and that's going normal speed. I could always put the four ways on and be there in like 2 minutes. But fuck. I don't have that kind of energy today. I'm just being lazy. So I'll take 10 minutes. But so anyways, with that said, I hope this has been educational. I hope it's been enlightening. feel free to hit that notification button and subscribe if you want. I've got a whole line of lessons that I'm going to be putting forth here in the next about a week or two. A lot of them is going to be like witch tips and stuff like that. You know, the warlocks tips um, for to help you prosper and stuff like that. So, with that said, have a good day, and until next time. Alrighty, I'm out.